Hey, it's Coach Colin Castello here again with ShotMechanics.com, and we've got another great pro interview today with Mark Adams. Mark is one of the premier skills trainers in the nation, and he's going to kind of walk us through some of the process that he takes when he's training and kind of some of the industry secrets. So, Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Colin. First off, I just want to say thanks for having me on the show. You do a great job. Looking forward to talking hoops with you tonight.
All right, very cool. So to kind of launch us into it, why don't you kind of start with your basketball background a little bit, kind of what got you into the skill development realm and all that sort of stuff.
Sure. Well, I grew up, playing ball like every other kid and chasing a dream, and played high school ball back in Syracuse, New York at Christian Brothers Academy. I was fortunate to go on and play college basketball at St. John Fisher College in Rochester. And after that, I knew I wanted to get into coaching and was very fortunate. My first coaching job was actually coaching with Coach Boeheim at Syracuse University.
Oh, nice.
And, so, you start off working for a Hall of Famer. So very blessed, very fortunate, and did that for 3 years and stayed in the college game for a little while. And then after that, realized that I have two passions in my life and got married and wanted to focus on family, and found out that the college situation it wasn't going to work at that time in my life. So I actually went to coach in high school, did that for 16 years, absolutely loved it. Coached in the states of North Carolina and Florida. And then after that, actually during that time, I kind of, became known as a guy that was kind of a workout guy, a player development guy. Kind of my niche was, developing players. And used to work some clinics when I was a high school coach and travel. And then all of a sudden I just had a couple guys that said to me, hey, have you ever thought about, just being a player development coach or a skill guy? And I thought about it and I said, that's the part of the game I really love and enjoy teaching. And the last 2 years have launched Mark Adams Basketball and have been super busy and absolutely love it. I've kind of reinvented myself. Not being a high school coach or a college coach, but the player development side has been just really fulfilling for me. I just love helping players get better, and I think it's the best job in the world.
Very cool. Well, I mean, you are absolutely killing it right out of the gate. I follow you on Twitter, love all the stuff you put out. Sometimes I feel like I'm kind of stalkerish while I'm hitting that favorite button all the time on your tweets. But yeah, so let's kind of work to when you actually start working with a player. So the very first time you work with a player, what are some of the initial things you do to evaluate their talent and kind of what they need to work on?
Sure, absolutely. The first time that you get with a player, I like to put them through a series of drills. And those drills will take in the basic fundamentals. I want to see their ability to handle the ball, strong hand, weak hand. I want to see their ability to finish, pass. Certainly we're going to do I think skill development involves just a lot of footwork, a lot of hands.
Absolutely.
So I do some things to kind of test their feet, test their hands. Take a look at their shot, their catch and shoot, off a rip going right, rip going left, pull-ups. Really try to take, that first session and not do as much teaching, but just kind of take in what that player has. And really what I'm looking for there is what is their skill set? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? And in looking at that skill set, really trying to find out, are they fundamentally sound? And where are their needs for improvement? So, that first lesson that you work with a player, I think is really important because, you want to get a feel for where they are.
Oh, very nice. So most of the players that come and work with you, are they coming for one specific thing? Like, are they coming saying, I want to get better at shooting? Or are they kind of coming mostly for an all-around workout sort of stuff?
I would say the majority of the players are coming for an all-around workout. And they trust that your craft and that you're going to be able to develop their overall game. Certainly, without a doubt, some players or the parents of younger players will say, we want to make sure that a player is able to do a certain skill or improve in certain areas. So really, it's both. I enjoy going through that process and that journey with the player. And sometimes they have specific things that they want to work on, and by all means, if they want to get better at a certain area and they've got that targeted, then we attack it and we figure out, how are we going to get better? We come up with our plan and purpose and go to work.
Awesome. So once you're working with a player, what's maybe like one or two of the biggest mistakes that you might see them make while they're training?
Yeah, this is a good one. A lot of times the kids don't understand going game speed, and they kind of coast and they go through things, and really you want everything to be able to translate. And if you're not going game speed, you're really not, working on game-like conditions. Now, the trouble with it is that sometimes when you're teaching a new skill or a new move or a new component footwork, sometimes they do have to go slower. So certainly they got to go slower to learn it. So it's a real fine line, and you got to know when to push them a little bit and when to slow them down. So for me, I like to see them really be fundamentally sound, ease their way into that. But then once they've kind of got that tool in their toolbox, I call it, and they're able to do it, then you want to go game speed. And I really think it's important that they get their reps in a game speed. So mastering the fundamentals, learning that skill, and then eventually translating it to the game speed, I think is the most important thing for them.
Nice, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's one thing. So we focus a lot on shooting at shot mechanics, and that's one thing specifically, when it comes to shooting development, that probably 90% of kids do and they don't realize that they're doing is they practice their shot at a super slow speed. Maybe they take a really slow warm-up dribble into it, or maybe they take a really slow step, and then they ask, they get in a game and they can't get any shots off, and they're like, I can't get any shots off. How come? And it's like, because you're practicing at about 30%.
And with that, staying with the shooting aspect of it, I think we're on a little delay there.
Oh, sorry.
With the shooting aspect, I think we're back. When you're doing your trace shooting or your form, certainly you may go a little bit slower and you're working on mechanics. But as you said, once you get that down, it's super important, I think, to not just get the conditioning in, but get that game-like conditioning. So those guys are getting game-like shots and reps. So there's not too many times in a game you get to stand there and catch and face and take your time and shoot it. Usually you got a guy closing out and you're working pretty hard leading up to your shot too, which is something that I try to make sure that we get enough movements leading up to our shot. So we incorporate some defensive aspects and some footwork, and we want to make sure that the player is able to transition and get those game-like shots in.
Awesome. Good insights. So you've been around and you've probably been able to watch a lot of different guys work out. You've been able to watch other trainers work guys out. So what's maybe one of the biggest kind of training misconceptions that you see a lot of other trainers doing that are maybe the detriment to their athletes?
Well, first off, I want to say, for me as a trainer, I've been really fortunate to be around a lot of great mentors, great coaches, starting off my career with Coach Boeheim, having some strong relationships with guys that I've been able to work under and work for and, really take a lot of things from them. The biggest thing that I've taken from some of the guys that are some of the top, just absolute in the game is, I think you got to ask this question, does it translate?
Cool.
Okay. So as a trainer, does it translate? I think that there's this new movement and of trainers coming along, and I think it's great. And it's a great field to get into. But I think the most important thing is, to realize that we're coaches. Coaches are teachers. It's our job to teach the game. And I think it's about teaching players how to play. I think it's about teaching skills. I think it's about developing skills. I don't think it's about teaching drills. And unfortunately, I just think there are a lot of drills out there that may look cool and, get people going, ooh and wow, but I'm not sure they translate to game-like situations. For sure. So for me, I'm going to try to make our drills that we do, find out where that player plays, what situation, what system they're in, and I want to get them game-like situations, and I really want it to translate. So the biggest thing I think I see out there, and I'm not trying to critique or criticize other people, but I pride myself in what we're going to do will absolutely translate. And if you find yourself having to justify a drill and it's taking you too long to justify that, you may want to reconsider doing that. But the main thing is am I doing things that I will do in a game? And if you work on those things, that's going to help you get better.
Awesome. And I always like to think of it as, gym time's super limited. And the time that you can get to work out super limited. And so the more time you spend doing things that aren't game applicable, I mean, that's kind of the more time that you've taken away from your development, essentially. So I couldn't agree with you more on that side of things. So that was awesome to hear.
Thank you.
So kind of looking back on your basketball journey, so you started with the kind of the standard coaching route, and then moved into skill development. So kind of looking backwards in time, what would you give if you give like one piece of advice to a new kind of young person trying to get into the skill training realm?
Well, Colin, that's a great question, and I get asked this a lot, via email or Twitter, or I think the best thing for the young guys out there is to get experience coaching, and there are some exceptions to the rule, but I think it's hard to just go from being a player to just being a player development coach. Being a player development coach, you're teaching the fine aspects of the game, and I think in order to do that, it serves you better if you've been an assistant coach and you've learned and you've been a head coach. Everybody's journey is different. And I didn't know I was going to be a player development coach. I thought I wanted to be a Division I head coach at the college level. And, I was at that level for a little bit, and then I coached high school, and then I kind of reinvented myself the last couple of years, and I found a passion for the true teaching of the game. But I think the young guys need to understand the more they can be around other people and be a sponge and soak up that knowledge, because really coaching is teaching. And in order to be a player development coach, I think if you're going to be a good coach and the stuff you're going to do translates, you've got to be able to teach the game.
Cool.
It's going to be hard to teach the game if you haven't had experience learning. So being an assistant coach or even being a head coach and learning, I think, whether it's at the high school or JV level or middle school level, college level, whatever it may be, that experience is going to help you when you become a player development guy in teaching the game.
Perfect. Yeah, and it kind of makes sense, because if you're kind of an assistant coach, so let's say you start out like a high school assistant coach or something like that out of the gates, you're probably going to be kind of in charge of more of the skill development side of things rather than the X's and O's, because most of the time, the head coach likes to, put together the game plan and the X's and O's and all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of a nice way to start kind of, shaping those skills before you even kind of really jump full into it.
Absolutely. The best experience, is teaching and teaching the game. And the more you're around guys, and even, today I go to coaching clinics and, try to be around as many people as you can. And you're always capable of learning the game. We think we have to learn the game from the college and the pro guys. You can learn the game. I'll tell you, I learned the game from my players. It's amazing just doing workouts with them, and you see different things. And so you just got to keep your eyes open. And I think the more you can surround yourself with people that know the game. You never want to be, the smartest guy in the room. You always want to be the guy that's around other great coaches, so that you can steal from them. You can borrow from them and see what they do to have had success.
Nice. All right, so kind of talk about your website a little bit. I perused it just the other day. Love what you got going on over there. And then maybe give us some other stuff that the Splash Army members, if they want to connect with you, maybe see what you got going on, where they can find you at.
Absolutely. Well, first thing I want to do is I want to give a shout out to my guys, Simply Fresh. They designed the website, Mark Adams Basketball. Simply Fresh for all the social media needs and website graphic design. They do a great job. Really pleased with them. As far as the website, like you said, it's www.markadamsbasketball.com. Very active on Twitter. My handle is @MarkAdamsBball. Same handle for my Instagram. Facebook is Mark Adams Basketball. I try to put as much information I can out there each and every day to help the coaches and players out there some inspiration and some insight into the game. If anybody needs to contact me, my email is real simple. It's mark@markadamsbasketball.com. Doing local training now in the Raleigh-Durham area, and I'll be making I call it a coming home tour. I'll be heading back to Syracuse and Rochester, New York in mid-November to do a series of clinics. More details to that to follow, but basically I'll be at St. John Fisher College in Rochester November 15th. I'll be in Canandaigua November 16th, and I'll be in Syracuse, New York, November 16th for skills clinics.
Very cool, very cool. So, yeah, everybody out there, go check him out on Twitter. Seriously, I love everything he puts out on Twitter. Go check out his website. Check out the dates for the clinics if you're in the area. Just a world-class clinician that has some great, great material.
Colin, appreciate the love. Appreciate you having me on the show. And look forward to staying in touch with you, buddy.
All right, thanks for coming on. Again, if you need to get in touch with him, we'll have the stuff up there on the screen. Thanks again, Mark, for coming on. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Colin.
Take care.